The 1% Rule of Wealth. How to retire 10 years earlier than everyone else. Presented by FinSage. Clarity create wealth. Stop believing the myth that retiring early requires winning the lottery or starting a billion-dollar company. The path to financial freedom is mathematical, not magical. It is governed by a single, powerful principle, the 1% Rule of Wealth. The 1% Rule is the quiet engine that allows smart people to retire a decade ahead of schedule. It exploits the asymmetry between your efforts today and compound interest over time. If you understand this rule, you can stop trading your life for a paycheck. Today, we break down the mechanics, the psychology, and the one tool you need to activate this rule immediately. This is not about complex derivatives or market timing. This is about optimizing human behavior for financial success. We will show you how to find that crucial 1% leak in your budget and turn it into decades of future freedom. Most people operate under a fatal financial delusion. They prioritize the big gains, the complex stocks, or the immediate salary jump. They ignore the true source of wealth, consistency. Your greatest enemy isn't the market, it's the lack of process. The greatest fraud in modern finance is the illusion of the savings account. We know this from our previous short. It's an invisible tax. But the psychological cost is far worse. It teaches you that money grows passively, which is a lie. The 1% rule demands activity, not passividade. It forces you to respect the small numbers. The greatest error is assuming your financial life will magically correct itself later. It won't. It requires brutal honesty and repetitive, small action. Your financial future is not built on big decisions, but on the relentless compounding of tiny, correct decisions. This is the foundation of the 1% mindset. You must believe that small, continuous effort is more powerful than sporadic, large bursts of effort. Historically, the average high-net-worth individual attributes their success not to one major deal, but to decades of disciplined savings and investment. Now, let's look at the psychology. Our brain is designed to react to immediate threats, not to the slow-motion collapse of inflation. It struggles to visualize a 7% loss over a year because the loss is gradual. This is the theory of context loss. We cannot visualize the future damage, so we fail to act today. The 1% rule is the necessary cognitive shield against this evolutionary flaw. It converts the abstract threat of inflation into a concrete, measurable task, finding 1%. Furthermore, when interest rates were historically high, passivity in a savings account was less damaging. Today, with rates near zero, passivity is a guarantee of loss. The 1% rule immediately reverses this dynamic. It forces you to quantify your losses and convert that quantification into an actionable financial gain. This consistent, relentless pursuit of a 1% improvement is what separates the average from the affluent. If you are spending $5,000 a month, finding 1% is just $50. That small amount, deployed at 8% interest over 20 years, creates overwhelming financial gravity. The power isn't in the 1%, the power is in the repetition of the 1%, the commitment to the process itself. The 1% rule requires 3 pillars. Pillar 1, the ruthless tracker. You cannot manage what you do not measure. This means moving beyond mental estimates and deploying a precise, digital tool to track every dollar. We found in our research that most people overspend by 10% simply because they don't know where the money is going. The tracker is your ultimate defensive tool against the invisible tax we discussed earlier. It must be brutally honest and consistently used. The AI component of a modern tracker is crucial here. It flags the cost of convenience, those hidden subscription fees, those exorbitant delivery fees, the tiny leaks that compound to destroy your wealth. This requires a small upfront investment in time and process, but the return is immediate and exponential. Pillar 2, the immediate deployment. Once you find that 1% improvement, that $50 or $100, it must be deployed immediately. It cannot sit idle. Idle money is losing money. The deployment means automatic transfer into a high-growth investment vehicle. This must be an automated process. Do not rely on emotion or memory. Automate the transfer the moment the income hits your account. This removes the psychological barrier to investing and ensures consistency. The immediate deployment strategy ensures that no capital is wasted on inertia. The moment the money is found, it is put to work. This pillar is where you utilize strategies like dollar cost averaging, ensuring your investment is consistent regardless of market volatility. This automation insulates you from emotional financial decisions, which are the primary destroyers of long-term portfolios. Pillar 3, the time multiplier. The only way 1% becomes 1,000% is through time and compound interest. To accelerate this effect, you must ruthlessly cut high-interest debt, as debt works in reverse of the 1% rule. The goal is to maximize the time the 1% is allowed to compound. Imagine a 25-year-old activating this rule versus a 35-year-old. That 10-year gap can mean a difference of hundreds of thousands of dollars at retirement. This is why the rule is so powerful. It rewards those who start before they feel ready. The regret of delaying this action is one of the most common failures of high-earning individuals. The compounding effect is exponential, but it requires a base of zero high-interest debt to truly launch. However, the greatest enemy of the 1% rule isn't the bank or the market, it's the psychology of inertia. Your mind is wired for immediate reward. When you find that extra $50, the brain screams, spend it now. Reward yourself. The emotional high of a new gadget or a quick dopamine hit defeats the long-term logic of compounding. This is the scarcity trap. People who operate with a scarcity mindset see the $50 as a temporary gain to be consumed, rather than a seed to be planted. They fear that if they invest it, they might need it later, sabotaging their own financial future for a perceived, immediate safety. The inertia of complex decision-making is the final obstacle. Every week, when you look at your budget, you have to decide, should I invest? Where should I invest? How much should I invest? This mental fatigue, known as decision paralysis, makes you revert to the default state, doing nothing. And in finance, doing nothing means losing. This is where the 1% rule becomes an automation imperative. The only way to bypass your own flawed psychology is to remove the decision entirely. Your goal is not to be a disciplined person, your goal is to be a disciplined system. The system must be faster and smarter than your emotional impulses. The core philosophy of FinSage is that clarity creates wealth. Clarity requires a system that is transparent and automatic. Your investment is an act of faith in your future self, and that faith must be protected from your present self's emotional urges. This is why the first pillar, the tracker, must evolve into the final pillar, the automated wealth engine. This engine constantly scans your spending, identifies the 1%, and instantly directs it to assets, bypassing your conscious decision-making process completely. It turns financial defense into an offensive, consistent attack on poverty and debt. The only thing you should decide manually is the allocation percentages. The machine handles the execution. The 1% rule is your ultimate financial roadmap. It's not about finding the perfect stock, it's about perfecting the process. You need the ruthless tracker, the immediate deployment, and the commitment to the time multiplier. But here is the major roadblock. Most people cannot even find that first 1% because they don't have a system to identify their spending leaks. That initial step of tracking is where almost everyone fails. They fail to understand that a financial system must be easy and automated. We solved that problem for you. We created the inflation-proof budgeting checklist. This is the exact tool you need to find every single spending leak in the next 7 days, allowing you to activate the 1% rule immediately. It's concise, it's actionable, and for a limited time, it's completely free. But for those ready to upgrade their mind and not just their budget, we have the premium template. This is the fully automated, customizable tracking software where you can implement the 1% rule with zero manual labor. This tool, combined with the 1% rule, is how you retire a decade earlier. It is the necessary bridge from theory to automated practice. It removes the friction that kills consistency. The risk is not in trying this system, the risk is in waiting another year. Don't be the person who waits another year. The cost of inaction is guaranteed loss. Your journey starts now. FinSage, clarity creates wealth.